Hi guys, Ronnie here. Today I want to talk about 5 features of modern bikes that people seem to get really annoyed about, but they aren't actually that bad at all in my experience. So the first one is right at the front of the bike. Integrated bars and stems. Now people seem to complain a lot about these, and it's true it's quite hard to change, or quite expensive to change the setup if you don't like it and you bought a stock bike. But this is the reason I always build a frame, or buy a frame only, and build up the bike with my own components. And this way I can choose the exact specification I want. And unless you want something pretty extreme, then it's usually available in the integrated bar and stem of the bike itself. And some people complain that you can't adjust the tilt of the bar or the rotation. Well, there's really only one proper way to do that, so I think that's not really a valid argument. And they look cooler, they have integrated cable routing, they are stiffer, lighter and more aero, so I don't see a point against them really, apart from being expensive, unless if you crash, break them, or you're just not satisfied with the size you have. Then another one is cable routing. Now I have to admit that this is really perhaps the mechanic's nightmare sometimes, but if you have some experience with dealing with it, I've built quite a few integrated bikes now, then it starts to get quite easy and a routine job if you have the proper tools and instruments to work with it. So yeah, it's hard to work on generally, even if the modern bikes have it dialed pretty well and they're good designs in this regard. But the upside is that actually, if you cable up a fully integrated bike, it's pretty much the only time you have to do it, just once, because with every cable running inside the bike, shift cables, brake cables, they don't really get into contact with contaminants that much, so you never really need to change them. This bike has done plenty of kilometers, and even though it doesn't have shift cables, the brake cables are still very, very fresh, despite riding in the worst conditions. Then, of course, the arch nemesis of traditionalists, press fit bottom brackets. Now, there are tons of standards, but if you look up some information about them and the frames, they're actually quite easy to understand. So I'll link a document where it is quite well described. And apart from the Pinarello I have built just recently, I have never actually built a bike without a press fit bottom bracket, and that was with different kinds of standards. The problem is, again, if you buy a complete bike from a manufacturer, it's often not installed properly, and even if it is, it's probably a cheap component. But if you have a quality unit like a ceramic speed, a Kogel and whatsoever, it's not really about the ceramic bearings, it's about the quality of the bottom bracket itself. Then with proper installation, I never had any problem, any creaking, any loose fit, whatever. You just need some regular care, and that's it. So it can be made to work. Then, if you look at the other bike, which is arguably a bit more modern, then we have another arch rival of cycling traditionalists, and that's the disc brake. But every other motorized or unmotorized vehicle uses it, so it's the future. Just it's much better in basically every way, and it will just keep getting better, lighter, more aero, and I'm pretty sure that eventually it will be lighter than a rim brake bike. It's the future, just face it. and accept it. It's inevitable. It also brings through axles, which brings another level of stiffness and control to the bike, and with the modern systems, wheel changes are just as fast. And then the last thing, actually, you can't really see that, but as opposed to most people running tubeless tires for cross, this is actually a tubeless tire, and it's getting more popular for road as well. And again, there are people who complain about the setup, the messiness, but actually, again, if you have a bit of experience with it, it just gets second nature, and then the benefits are much larger than the drawbacks. So yeah, you get less rolling resistance, you get less weight, you get pretty much unpuncturable tires. Yeah, so basically all of the benefits you could want from a tire. And again, most other vehicles, motorbikes, cars, trucks, buses, etc. use tubeless tires for a very good reason. Again, it's the future. Just get on with it. Okay, so these were 5 things that people seem to argue about quite a lot, but in my experience, I haven't really found any major drawbacks to any of them. If you'd like to know more about these bikes or some tips regarding press fit or tubeless setups, then don't forget to tune into my channel and subscribe. It's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.